This is my slideshow on history of bilingual education. 1906, the Nationality Act of Texas. In order to become more naturalized, this act required immigrants to speak English. This is significant because it paved the way for other policies and laws. This is actually beneficial in my opinion because immigrants were coming to the U.S. where most people spoke English. It also allowed teachers in the U.S. to practice in teaching English to others and how to make the process better. Mohawk Key Lock Po versus Steinbach, 1944. This was a case involving a teacher of Chinese teaching Chinese to students in the first and second grades in Hawaii, which was thrown out by Act of the Territory. Act of the Territory regulated the teaching of foreign languages. The reason it was thrown out was because learning a different language by students of average intelligence would interfere with their ability to properly assimilate their usual studies in the English language. I agree with Steinbach on this one. School can be difficult for a lot of students, and those that are already struggling in plain English studies don't need the added weight of trying to learn a completely foreign language as Chinese. Later, English would be named the official language of the United States by Senator Hayakawa from Hawaii. 1954, Brown versus Board of Education. Known as one of the greatest decisions of the Supreme Court, stated that racial segregation violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. It paved the way for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I think this was a good decision as well. This was a more economical decision. The cost of building two schools, one for African Americans and one for whites, is just ridiculous. From a social standpoint, it was beneficial in making friends, since once one finds out that not all African American people are bad. In God's eyes, we're all the same, no matter the color of our skin. The Civil Rights Act of 1964. A forward movement of the Brown versus Board of Education case. Ended segregation in all public places and banned employment discrimination on basis of color, religion, gender, or national origin. John F. Kennedy was assassinated, so Lyndon B. Johnson took over, signing the Civil Rights Act on July 2, 1964. With segregation and discrimination in the workplace banned, immigrants can get better jobs and help their children earn a better education. 1968 Bilingual Education Act. Address needs of students who are not proficient in English. Schools that wish to develop bilingual education programs would be endorsed through federal assistance. The federal funding would provide training to teachers on how to deliver curriculum in a different language and learning resources. Schools with students of low-income families would be the primary target for federal assistance. This act provided a way for immigrants to learn English and for other children to learn a different language. I would think that the language taught other than English would be a language that is prevalent in the area the school is in. We had a Spanish class in my high school, as that was the prevalent language of our area besides English. I also appreciate that they wanted to make sure they had good resources and learning materials for students in bilingual programs. Lau versus Nichols, 1974. Lau felt that because Chinese students didn't know English, they were being left out of what they were supposed to be learning in school. He felt that all classes were conducted as if everyone knew English. He felt they should be taught in Chinese until they learned English on their own or be taught in both languages. Many Chinese immigrants were huddled into ghettos, and many of them were stuck there. Thus, they were largely excluded from mainstream American life. I feel the Chinese immigrants had it worse than African Americans when it came to getting an education, in the sense that at least most African Americans in the U.S. spoke English. I don't think anyone should be excluded from learning as long as they put in the effort. Lau had a valid case in my opinion. 1981, Senator Hayakawa. In 1981, Senator Hayakawa created an amendment to the Constitution that made English the official language of the United States. By 1998, 25 states had made English their official language. I think it's great that English is the official language. If I went to any other country, I'd be expected to learn that country's language, so I think it's fair. Bilingual education comes under attack later on. 2000, Proposition 203 passed in Arizona, also known as English for the Children. Requires teaching students only in English. Teaching another language is not allowed. Students who are not proficient in English must be placed in an immersive English language program for a year. The idea of a one-year immersion program feels like it's rushed, as they want the children to learn English as quickly as possible. which may make the students feel overwhelmed or have anxiety. I agree with teaching only in English since we are in the U.S., but teachers should have focused more on making sure the children understand their lessons, not just rushing them through a one-year program. 2001, the Colorado English for the Children Initiative. A former school board member named Rita Montero said that the bilingual program had good intentions, but it went astray. She was forced to keep her child in a bilingual program. She felt that bilingual educators exploited Hispanic children to perpetuate their jobs. Ron Unz joined Montero at the state capitol to protest bilingual programs. Unz also launched the California and Arizona campaigns. Unz said that since California schools have banned bilingual programs, test scores have been on the rise, and that it improves performance of the students. I have mixed emotions about bilingual programs. I think all people in the U.S. should be taught English since it's the official language of the U.S. Some people need to know another language or at least learn how to get by in another language that is prominent in the area they're in. For instance, it'd be silly to have a Mandarin class in my hometown since there are no Chinese people there. I do agree with having Spanish classes since there are many Mexicans in my hometown. The No Child Left Behind Act of 2001 established requirements for testing and assessing students' performance, state standards for assessments. Informed parents and the public on teacher quality and school performance. Teachers and paraprofessionals needed additional qualifications. Supplementary educational options for low-income families. This act is supposed to make sure that students learn the curriculum being taught, no matter if they speak another language or not. Routine testing makes sure the teachers stay on top and up to date on student performance, even immigrant children. Families are notified of progress, and teachers learn where they need to make changes to curriculum so everyone understands and has a chance to excel in academics. Goals of the Common Core State Standards. Delineates language practices that need to be acquired by English language learners in order to meet the Common Core State Standards. Outlines language demands of Common Core State Standards and provides procedure for determining alignment between framework and English language proficiency development assessments. Reflection. Looking at the timeline, immigrants to the U.S. were required to speak English. Then, as time wore on, bilingual education became a thing. Now it seems that history repeats itself because in Utah, Arizona, and Colorado got rid of anything bilingual. I think it's interesting. Thank you very much for this presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.